Hi folks, I'm Bo Riles. Congratulations on your purchase of either the Chetco or the Chetco Pro. You're going to have plenty of opportunity to use this great product, both on the greens and on the tees. And that, my friends, is a minimum of 60% of all your strokes and some of the most important shots you'll make during your round. Now, to help us understand how to best use the Chetco on the greens and the tees, we bring in now Southern California PGA Teacher of the Year, Roger Gunn. Roger, great to see you.
Thanks, Bo. Thanks a lot.
All right, well, am I right about that? 60% of all strokes, greens and tees?
And what you said about it being the most important shots also. You know,
Right.
if you're not putting well and if you're not getting off the tee well, you're not scoring well.
That's right. Well, we're now on a green, and you want to take us through, first of all, how to practice with the Chetco marked ball to make sure your stroke is actually in condition to go on the course, right?
Well, one of my favorite practice tools is to use a marked golf ball like this because it shows you whether you're putting a good stroke on it or not. That way you can see if you're rolling it end over end by using the line. Now, first of all, to understand the good putting stroke is a great place to start, and I want to talk about that for a minute. Remember, you're standing to the side of the golf ball when you're putting, just like any other shot. It's not like pool or bowling where we're right on the line and it's a straight motion. Because we're standing to the side of the ball, and you're not moving around a whole lot. You're not moving your upper body back and forth too much. It's just a turn. So it's not a straight back and straight through motion.
There's some rotation, right?
That's right. Even though we want the ball to go straight, we don't go straight. We don't go straight back and straight through. Let it track a little bit of an arc. Now, a lot of times people will hear that and they say, oh, an arc, great. And they'll start doing this to it. Well, that's a manipulation as well. So we don't need to try to twist it or turn it or really make it do anything. If you go ahead and bend over just a little bit from the waist and swing it, the club will track a little bit of an arc without you trying to do it. So that's a really important element of making a good stroke.
So tell us a little bit about the putting stroke itself. We always hear straight back, straight through. Is that how we're supposed to stroke a putt?
Well, that's a common misconception.
But what you're saying is use your shoulders, the big muscles of your upper body, correct?
That's right.
Just let it go back and through.
That's
like
right.
the pendulum of a clock?
Exactly. So there's no manipulation. You're not trying to do something that's unnatural. You're just turning. If you really feel it, you must make a straight back and straight through stroke. Really, the best way to do it is like Lauren Roberts, where you rock your shoulders in just a little bit this way to make it go straight. But for the most part, if you want to let it just go naturally, it'll track a little bit of an arc. And again, the most important part, you don't have to try to do that.
Right.
If you just swing, it'll happen for you.
Well, you want to show us how it all works?
Let's do it.
Okay.
What you're going to do is you're going to set the ball up right on its line.
Okay.
And again, we're not putting to anything at all. You're just sort of rolling it in a direction.
Doesn't matter where you put it down. Find a quiet place on the green
Exactly.
where there aren't golfers. Okay.
Exactly. So you're going to go ahead and set this ball up. Now, a lot of people, when they stroke a putt, they get into some habits where they'll cut across it one way or the other, swinging out to the right or swinging off to the left. And now all of a sudden you won't see that line when it rolls across the green.
Okay.
Let's do a good one first. As I set up to it like this, I'm just going to set up squarely to that line, and then I'm going to swing it back and forth just naturally, and there I see the line as it
Perfect.
rolls across the green there.
Right.
Now what'll happen if you set this ball up and your stroke is not in good shape, it's going to act much
You want to
differently.
use me for this one? Because I guarantee it's right field, brother.
I think as the Chetco representative, I feel confident that you can roll it end over end too, so
okay.
I'm going to deliberately make a bad one.
All righty.
So let's say that I'm going to cut across it this way a little bit through impact.
Okay.
As I stroke it, you can see there's no line to be seen.
And you're defeating the purpose of even marking your ball if you have a stroke like that, right?
Exactly
There's no
right.
reason to even mark it or line it up because really it's an unpredictable roll.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So this shows you if your stroke is in good shape, when you point that line in a direction, you have a chance to roll it on that line.
So every round, seriously, a person should go out, take the Chetco marked balls, don't even go to a hole, set on one or two balls, and recheck their stroke, correct?
Absolutely. I think that's a great idea.
Make sure that they're rolling it end over end, and then go on through their regular practice routine after that, right?
That's right. And it may be some cases where you lose your stroke a little bit, you can't find that line very easily. So you may have to practice a little bit to try to find that line again.
That's right.
But once you do, your stroke will be in great shape.
Because otherwise it's fruitless to just hit the course and hope you're going to make putts.
Exactly.
That's wishful thinking.
It is.
And you know we got to work our plan and plan our work. All right, well now that we've learned how to practice with the Chetco marked balls, let's hit some putts.
Let's do it.
All right. All right, Raj, now you've shown us how to use the Chetco marked ball to practice to make sure the ball is rolling end over end. So I'm assuming on a flat, straight putt, that's all you do is you line up that vertical line at the hole, you make a good stroke, and hopefully you walk away with picking that ball out of the hole, right?
Piece of cake.
All right, but what about this? Vicious right to left swinging putt. You've made the track for us, so this should be really easy for me. All I have to do is aim the Chetco vertical line at that track and just make a good stroke, right?
Let's take a look at it.
In theory, this should work, right, Raj? All right, so straight back. Now, wait a minute. That went left.
Well, you made a very common mistake that people make when they're lining up the logo of the ball or when they're lining up the Chetco, and I want to show you what that's all about.
Okay.
You see, when you have a breaking putt like this, I've made these marks on the ground where the ball would go. And if you look at this putt from where it starts, it's going to hit a high point, if you will, the apex of the putt. That's the highest point it's going to be.
Okay.
But the trick is that it's not a dead straight line from where the ball is to the apex and then it breaks. It actually breaks to get to that point.
It was breaking before it got to that first line.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
So what happens is you see the putt in your mind's eye just beautifully, you line the thing up just so, and you miss it low every time because you do that.
So you're saying we need to line up even further right from the track line?
High of the high point.
High of the high point.
Exactly. And of course this will take a little practice to get the hang of it, but what you want to do is go ahead and aim it high of these points here so that as it's breaking it runs across those. Very, very important to do that. And of course the more severe the break is, the more you want to aim it above that high point.
Okay.
So what I'm doing when I'm setting up the Chetco line here is I'll set it up and I've got it aimed just a bit to the right of that apex point.
Okay.
So in other words, I'm going to be passing in terms of where I'm aiming it. It looks like I'm aiming it up in here. But as I hit the putt, it goes ahead and starts breaking and runs right over those spots.
We always hear when you miss a putt on the low side, that's the amateur side. When you miss it on the high side, that's the pro side. And this is what you're talking about.
Absolutely.
Amateurs always pick too little club when
Too
they're
low.
hitting into the green,
Yes.
and they're always not allowing for enough break.
Exactly.
Got it.
This will help you with that like crazy to go ahead and aim it high enough. And it also takes care of that thing that a lot of people experience when they're standing there. They can feel that they're aiming too low. And then they go ahead and make their stroke and it feels very uncomfortable. Once you start understanding that you aim high of the high point, now it becomes a lot easier.
Okay.
So I've aimed this a little bit above our high point here, and then I'm going to go ahead and hit the putt. And again, just trying to make my nice comfortable stroke there, not trying to manipulate at all.
Okay.
And hopefully if I do it right, it'll go ahead and run over those spots. And I go ahead and make my stroke.
Trust your stroke. And we should see a result like that, shouldn't we, Raj? Perfect. Absolutely perfect.
That's how you do it.
That is how you do it.
Yes, and the more breaking the putt, of course, the higher of that high point you'll have to go. But with a little practice, you'll get the hang of it.
So walk up if you've got a swinging putt, either left to right or right to left. Find the high point and go to the high side of that, and that's the point you want to hit, obviously at the right speed.
Exactly. I aimed it slightly right of that so it'll go over it, and that's the trick. You've got to aim high of that high point, and then it'll roll right over it as it breaks.
Because if you aim right at it, you'll do what I did. You'll go low of that. Now you're offline.
Exactly.
You got no chance on a swinging putt to make it.
Exactly, and here's the real trick about that. You're going to aim it a little bit high of that high point, but you can still see this in your mind's eye where you want the ball to go. So I can still visualize that the ball's going to go there, but that logo is aimed a little bit high of that high point, and that really helps.
And if you didn't have the logo, it would be very tough to actually line up to that perceived line, wouldn't it?
Exactly.
That's what makes the Chetco so useful on the greens.
Precisely.
Very, very important. Listen, thank you so much, Roger, for helping us on the greens
You got
to
it.
use the Chetco, but we also have 18 other places on the golf course to use the Chetco to our advantage, and that is off the tee. So what do you say we take a look and see
Let's
what we
do it.
find? All right. All right, Raj, you've shown us how to effectively use the Chetco to our advantage on the greens, but here we are on a tee. We have 18 of these on the golf course, so 18 chances to get it right, 18 chances equally to get it wrong, which you don't want to do. The most important place is off the tee, right?
Absolutely. If you start off a hole with a bad tee shot, you're going to have a tough time making par, let alone birdie.
Doesn't matter whether it's a par 3, 4, or 5. Now, how is the Chetco going to help us to line up to the target?
Well, that's a great question. You know, whenever you see the great golfers on TV, you'll often see them standing behind their ball and looking down the target line. And what they're doing right there is they're picking out a spot that they can line up their club to. Once you get that club down square to your target, then you're in business for setting up correctly. So what we want to do is to take the Chetco marked ball and go ahead and set it up at our target. Once we have that line, if you will, now I can set my club face up square to that, and that's the whole trick. Once I have the club face down square to where I want to go, and the shaft not lean too far forward or back, now I'm really going to be in great shape.
Now, Raj, just to back up just a little bit, that intermediary target is because it's a little difficult for us to line up that eventual target, right?
Absolutely. Well,
so it could be a piece of grass, anything, right?
Yes. Well, you know, when you're looking down the target line, you use binocular vision. You're using two eyes to look right down that target line. Very difficult to do it from the side, where you're trying to get your line from there. So that's why the pros are always standing behind it to get that line. And we want to make use of the same thing. To go ahead and stand behind it, you can point that line exactly where you want to go. It couldn't be easier to get that part right.
Okay.
So once you have the line pointing where you want to go, now you can put the club down square to where you want to go as well. You see, if I point the club way to the right, well, I'm going to stand way to the right as well, and that's going to shoot the ball off over there. Once I get the club down correctly, I'm not going to stand like this with the club pointed in the right direction. So the club down first really helps you to get it going in the right direction.
So step up to the tee, figure out where your target is, the eventual target. Find an intermediary target in between there, 3, 4, 5 feet, whatever it may be.
Whatever's comfortable.
Whatever's comfortable, then line up that check go mark at that intermediary target, and then line your club face up, and then you line your body up.
Exactly.
Right?
Club first, then you. I say it all the time
Club
to my
first, then
students.
you, club first, then you.
It makes it much easier. You know, you have a static situation where you get to set it up exactly right. You can stand right behind the target line, pick out that spot. It couldn't be easier. And now you've got the most important factor, that the club face is going to be pointing where you want to go. Then all you have to do is stand to the club, if you will. It's going to set you up in a certain position. You can stand to the club, and you'll have a much better chance of aiming down that fairway.
Awesome, Roger. Well, show us how it's done then.
All right, we're going to go ahead and choose your shot, if you will. This is a pretty straightforward shot here. I'm going to be able to go right at the pin. So I'm going to go ahead and tee it up, pointing that line right down at my target. I still want to stand behind and visualize to get a good view of what I'm trying to do and keep it clear in my mind. So I'm going to go ahead and make a little practice swing here just to get loose. You want to do that before every shot. Every shot's a little bit different, so you want to try to feel that.
Maybe a while before you've swung.
Exactly.
Especially off the tee.
Exactly. So now I'm going to go ahead and visualize that shot. I've got the line lined up where I want to go, so I've got that taken care of. I set the club down first, just like that.
Club first, then the body.
Then I set myself a little look just to make sure I got it right, and off I go.
Great shot. Look at this. That is 5 feet from the hole, brother. 210 yards.
Thank
That's
you.
a great shot.
Thank you.
That is perfect execution of how to use a Chetco mark ball off the tee. Now, first of all, beautiful shot again.
Thank you.
Secondly, you did say before you hit that I'm going to pretty much go right at it here. You weren't hitting away from any trouble. But let's just say that I'm on a par 4 and I have water down the right side, all the way down the right side. Basically, the trouble's on the right side. How do you play that type of shot to hit away effectively from that trouble using the Chetco mark ball?
Well, great question. You know, the Chetco is always going to help you to line up wherever you want to go. So now it becomes important to pick your target correctly. And a little known fact about teeing up is to tee up on the right side of the tee box.
Right.
Or the correct side, I should say. So when you're shooting on a hole like that where there's trouble right, you basically always want to shoot away from the worst trouble. So let's say that you got water right, but you got out of bounds on the left. That might be the worst troubles on the left.
Okay.
But in our scenario that you painted right there, I'm going to want to tee up on the right side of the tee box. And that way, from an angle standpoint, I'm shooting a little bit away from the trouble. You know, this game is never easy, but that makes it just a little bit more margin for error, if you will, where I would have to miss it by a few more degrees to get that trouble. Now, if I've got water right and OB left, well, the OB left, that's the more severe trouble.
That's 2 shots, as opposed to 1 shot.
Exactly.
Right?
So I have to watch out what side is the worst trouble on. So now some holes like that are just plain hard and you have to hit a good shot. But most holes have one side or the other that's much more desirable. So tee up on the same side as the worst trouble. And as I say, this game is never easy, but that makes it a little bit easier.
And hit away from it.
Exactly.
You know, I could also see the Chetco being very effective for those tee boxes that are lined up a little crooked. And we said it, even on the tour you see those sometimes, right?
Absolutely. I mean, it's not required that the tee box point down the fairway. A lot of times it's pointed a little one way or the other. So this really helps with that because, again, standing behind it, lining up the line, piece of cake.
And being that you, number one, have control of where you tee it up, off the tee as long as you're behind the markers. And number two, you have a Chetco marked ball. Now it makes it a lot easier to hit away from that trouble and put the ball in play. Because after all, if it isn't in play off the tee, you're just costing yourself strokes, right?
Absolutely. And you know, the ability to stand behind that ball and line up that marker just where you want to go, you're using both eyes, looking right down the target line. Very easy to find that line. You can do it every time.
So to recap, Roger says, take the Chetco marked ball, aim it to an intermediate target, align your club face first, body second, take your time and let it rip. Roger, hey, look, do you think you can make that putt?
I think so. I've got a Chetco.
You shouldn't have done this before, man. Unbelievable shot, unbelievable birdie.
Thanks,
I
Bo.
think you make me a little sick about right now, Roger. Oh, man. Well, listen, folks, thanks for watching. We've learned today, thanks to Roger and the Chetco, how you can take advantage of the Chetco and that marked line both on the greens and on the tees. And I want to thank Roger Gunn. Roger,
My pleasure,
appreciate
Bo.
it for helping us out today. What do you say we play a few more holes?
Let's do it.
Let's do it. Thanks for watching, folks. And remember, if you have questions, start at the beginning of the tape and watch it again. Play well.
You can get the Roger Gunn Golf Levels training system at perfectball.com. Call and order yours today.